Hello, and welcome to episode 118, Personality and Composure. Boys, another unexpected result, I will say, especially given the location. Today, as always, your host, you got myself, Mike. I'm going to go around the table here. We got Jason. Jason, how are we this evening?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
Good. Bill, how are you?
Good result. Can't complain. So
yeah, we're still smiling. We're all still smiling. Oscar, how are you?
Still undefeated. That's how I feel.
Yeah,
feels good. We haven't had this many smiles in 2.5 years.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time. But again, we haven't won anything yet. So let's make sure that we slow down here. We got a lot to talk about. We had a big game today. Came away with a result that not many expected. We'll talk about PSG 1, Benfica 1, a repeat of the result in Lisboa, just at a different location. 2 penalties decided the game. Oh,
sorry.
Hi, Julia. We'll talk about. I was like, "Who the hell was that?" We'll talk about that game. We will touch briefly on Benfica 4, Rio Ave 2, mostly about the rotation, something that we've talked about a lot. Lack of efficiency is another talking point. So we have a lot to talk about. Those of you who are tuning in, listening, watching, make sure that you leave your comments, your feedback, your opinions. Let us know what you're thinking. What you think of the game? We'll have questions running across the bottom of the screen. If you have questions that you want to ask us or thoughts, let us know. Let's make this interactive. We want you to participate. Before we start, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, share this feed out to your friends on your social platforms. See if we can get a few more likes and subscribes. Currently today, we passed 1,500 on Twitter. We're at 1,507. We are at 457 on YouTube. See if we can get to 500 before next week's episode. We are 593 on Instagram. We'll see if we can break 600 before the end of this live. And we are at 27,579 on Facebook with a round number of 30,136 followers across all social platforms. Not a bad number, boys. So thank you all for tuning in, for listening, for liking, subscribing, and putting up with us, whether you agree with us or not. It's greatly appreciated. Tiago says, Boa noite, Maltinha. We'll always have Paris. Yes, Paris is red and white. Tiago, boa noite, bom dia pra ti. Are you guys having issues with my audio, or is it just Bill? Let us know in the... Oh, all right. Good. Everyone's good. It might be just Bill. My mouth moving too fast for the words. It's okay. Ricardo, boa noite, Benfiquistas. Mais travão ao PSG. É verdade. Paramos aquela máquina mais uma vez. PSG 1, Benfica 1. Gentlemen, let's dive right in. We got some stats here to look at while we talk about it. I'm going to let you guys jump in and give your opinions first before I do. Jason, I'm going to start with you. What do you have to say about this game?
Well, I was very happy about the result. I I know leading to the game there was a lot of rumblings around PSG, and I predicted a victory for Benfica, and I just felt like we were going to get points just because of the whole Mama Bay or whoever you say his name, and what was going on with that whole team. I thought going into the game, I felt a little bit more confident, especially how we played last week. I was really surprised to see Frederick start overall. I think he played really well defensively, but I think he ruined how we went forward, which would make sense because we were losing Neds, and which was a big attacking option for us. But overall, I was really happy with the result. I thought we played really well overall. We defended well. I thought this was a game for Florentino and Enzo and Frederick to show their capabilities for the team, and as well as our back line. I thought they played well. I was a little skeptic on the PK because Antonio Silva came in, made a dumb error there, but I thought he played overall pretty well besides that mistake he did, but in which showed me good faith to have him back there. He's not one of those young players that makes a mistake and continues to make it. So I just thought overall we played well as a team. It was a good tie. I didn't think PSG created much, and to end it all, Neymar is still a bitch.
I agree. I can't get over his constant flopping. It drives me nuts. Let us know if those of you in the chat, if you agree with our opinion on Neymar. I mean, he literally just jumps into defenders. It's so frustrating. He did it countless times again today. Bill, before I pass it to you, Rui Pinho says, "Good evening, guys. João Mario, aka Iceman," and I'm gonna flag this comment because we're gonna come back to this, Rui. I have a question here for the panel, and you can.
I forgot to give my praises to João Mario. I thought João Mario, he's been our stud. He's been really consistent throughout this whole season, and he's doing what Pizzi used to do, which was bury PK, so which is good. So keep on burying.
Oscar's heart just got enlarged.
Oh boy,
that's why
I could see it from here. His heart got enlarged.
You looked down and took a note.
Oscar was like stone face. Oh, he made a note.
In his notes.
He's got IOUs. I mean, while we're on it, let's just jump into Rui Pinho's statement here. But quickly in the comments, hey to Rui Pinho, Red Baron disappointed 1-1 tie against the second largest team in Paris. Very disappointing. SLBS says not expecting Auschwitz to replace Neres, but it worked. Ricardo says Auschwitz esteve muito bem, correu muito. My guess was 2-0, 0-2. My bad. I think 1-1 is great from Carlos and Rui Pinho. Who's more annoying, Neymar or Taremi? And Carlos answered the question for me. Both. Yes, both. Bill, I'm going to pass that to you. Thoughts on the game, and jumping into Rui's question here. I have a comment here, which is João Mario is in fine form, is what I had written down during the game. We've had this conversation throughout the season. Different names have been thrown out on the stage. Is it at this point of the season, can we say that João Mario is our best player this season thus far?
Is that a question? Because that's a guarantee. Yes.
Hold on. Bill's first.
Yeah, I would. He's been our best player. He's been easily our most consistent player. He's one of those players that, like, if you look at the stat sheet, typically he's not going to stand out. He got the goal today from a PK, but he's not going to stand out on like a stat sheet. But it's like the little things he does, controlling the game, controlling the pace of the game, playing smart, like simple, smart. I think it's the João Mario we all expected. And then last year we saw glimpses of it, and then who knows what happened toward the end of the season. He didn't play much, but I mean, this might be like the form he's in might be the João Mario form from like 2016 when we won the Euro. Like, he is playing at a high level and consistently playing that well. I mean, I don't think it's an argument that he's our best player. I mean, easily a top 3 best players so far, in my opinion. I think Oscar answered it as well. He's probably our best player so far this season. As for the game, I mean, when the draw happened, if anyone said those 2 games back to back against PSG and you're going to walk away with 2 draws, I think any one of us would have fucking signed up right then and there.
100%.
I mean, PSG clear favorites, right? Money wise, player wise, like it's just a whole different level that they're at, and to be able to go, I wouldn't say toe to toe. At moments we were toe to toe with them, but I think there were times where you could tell the quality and gap in players stood out. But I think PSG has great players. Benfica had the better team. I think everyone worked their tails off. Guys coming in off the bench, guys that started. I mean, everyone just ran their butts off. I was a little surprised with Freddie starting. I figured Roger would have just gone with his normal setup and just put in Diogo and put Diogo in out wide and just
Or
gone
Draxler.
that way. Or Draxler, yeah. But my only issue with Draxler is like he's not going to defend much, right? He's going to give you a lot going forward. He's not going to. His work rate coming back is going to be less than what you would want in a game like this, where you're going to be defending a lot. But I think the move worked. I thought Freddie worked his tail off. I thought he played very well, played simple, and he gave you in the second half. I think he played a lot better than he did in the first one. I thought he played well in the first, and I think just having that extra body in the midfield when we lost possession helped. Right, he was dropping, getting more central when we didn't have the ball, and I think us outnumbering PSG in the middle is what helped us control the game at times and kind of slow down their counterattack, because they were PSG. I mean, they were more threatening when they were on the counter than they were trying to build up. And I think that had a lot to do with us having that extra body in the midfield and just clogging those lanes. And then, I mean, on their PK, I think Antonio showed his age a bit, right?
Very much.
Ball coming across. He probably could have just stood him up. I mean, he's on the touchline. It doesn't really have much of an angle. If you just get there, stand him up, make him make a decision, flying him like that, it was always going to be risky. But I think he did well to kind of bounce back and not let that kind of derail the game for him, right? Because kid that young making an error like that on a stage like this is like it's a recipe for disaster. And he played well. I think from that point on, he kept it simple. I think there was at one point it was him against Mbappe again, and just stood him up and just stuffed him. I mean, the kid did well to bounce back. I'll give him credit for that.
I agree. I think we all said it in our group chat. See how he reacts from this. See how he bounces back, right? And a moment of adversity on that stage, Benfica's down away, like he easily could have crumbled. And like Carlos Ramalho says, second half Antonio was amazing. I thought he played really well in that second half. Shows his level of maturity, his level of concentration. It's just unbelievable to see a player of this age. Again, still early days, but really positive signs to see what we see from him at this moment. Oscar, thoughts on the game, and what's your thought on this João Mario question that I proposed to you guys? And just quickly in the comments,
I want to counter that after.
Okay. Rui Pinho saying best is Enzo, you Enzo caralho, says Red Baron. I think Ricardo saying não compares é mais novo, não compares o João Mário com o Enzo, jogador diferente. But I mean, both have been influential in their way, but I think, and this is just my opinion, I think while I think Enzo has been phenomenal, he's had a couple of games that have been subpar. Just like João Mário may have been below par in certain games, but I think overall consistency at this stage of the season, what are we, 17, 18 games in? I think João Mário has a hat in the ring to say, listen, he could be up until this point, maybe our best and most consistent player. But Oscar, over to you.
No, I agree. I think João Mário is the most consistent this year so far. But I think I give credit to whoever put this puzzle together. And it has to be with like bringing Enzo in, bringing like the Neres in, which filled in the spot on the wing. I think all that put together is to me my real MVP, because I don't think one player changes everything. It's the puzzle. In today's game, we talked about it last week. I think we thought it was going to be more conservative. Like nobody's going to attack like like we did last week especially first half. We're going to be more reserved and like hold off in attacking. We did that today. You could see both teams. I mean, we had both teams at 7 shots. That's like for a PSG playing at home, we held them to 7 shots. That's unbelievable. So, they had more possession, but they didn't do much with it. I thought we played really well on the defensive side, and we took our chances when we did attack. We didn't create much like we did in the first leg, but I think we did the job. The game was planned perfectly and executed perfectly. Yeah,
and thoughts on João Mario?
No, João Mario, like I said, João Mario is our MVP. I mean, he's the best player we've had, the most the one that's shown from the last year, the one that's improved the most from the guys who've been there. I think he's playing more confident. Like you could tell on the field that he feels like he's the man. He's the guy that controls the whole midfield. Even though he has Florentino on top form, he has Enzo on top form. João Mario to me is like the guy going forward with the ball that makes the plays happen. He is to me the most consistent player this year so far.
Jay?
So like I find it hard to believe that Enzo's not our best player overall.
Fair.
And that's nothing taken away from João Mario's season.
No, of course. And it's subjective, right? It's an opinion.
Yeah. And like I would put João Mario number 2 overall, and maybe Rafa 3, Tinu, and then Ramos probably round off the top 5 overall. I just think Enzo brings so much to the team. Even though when he does have bad games, he's still there defensively. He's not having the best day going forward. I think Oscar mentioned that João Mario kind of creates. I think Enzo's the one that kind of starts off that attack. He gets the ball and he puts the ball right on the corner to Ba, or he puts it to the side. He's the one that kind of makes our motor go. João Mario to me has been the player that's been finding that final pass for Benfica, and I think he's been huge in that aspect of the game for us. And of course, he's bearing the opportunities. He's scored a couple goals already. He scored goals from PK. He's got ice in his veins. He's playing outstanding. I can't say anything bad about João Mario. I think he's probably my biggest surprise this season, just because of everything he's doing. Like I wasn't expecting this João Mario to play, but like I just think that Enzo needs to be. Well, I think he is in the conversation regardless. I think you guys all probably have him in the top 3, but I think he's number 1. I mean,
I don't disagree with that. that let's me be clear. Like, you like it's almost saying like let's go into Liverpool, Jota and Salah, right? Jota could be having an amazing season, but Salah has the it factor. Like he's the guy that like if somebody will pay money for, right? And the same thing happens here. João Mario could be having a great, phenomenal season, like PZ had for many years, great seasons, but the guy that gets the money is the Di Marias and the guy tons and stuff like that. So to me, Enzo is that it factor guy, right? And João Mario is a guy that does all the work, but nobody will give him like 15 million to buy him at the end of the season type of player, right?
I'll tell you right now, I'll keep João Mario for a couple more years.
Me too.
If he plays like this for a couple more years, I'll take him.
João Mario is in such good form that he thought he could outrun Mbappe.
And
then you realize, like, oh shit, God, I fully.
Yeah. Wait,
he's like, I'm not this young again.
So did Rafa. Did you notice Rafa trying and he stopped? He's like, oh fuck this guy.
Rafa's motor broke down. He was like, fuck this dude. In Portugal não há assim tão rápidos.
Rafa's like, let Gilberto Carlos chase.
Oh man.
Mbappe fucking put Antonio Silva on skates.
A few times.
Couple times.
Man, dude, he just flew right. I was like, fuck.
Antonio Silva had the PK, but he could have had enough. If Mbappe was like the same play as Neymar is, he would have gone down the PK in the first half.
How about that card by Florentino?
Yeah, that's a half a goal.
That was on the play that Mbappe
No,
blew by them all, and
Rafa
then he
chased
cut
them
in.
down and then was like,
Yeah.
"Fuck
Yeah, that
that."
was on that same play.
Exactly.
But then Antonio had one in the second half where it was basically the same play as the PK, but he
just
actually
split
like
him up.
anticipated it correctly and didn't
Yeah.
go in swinging with his leg. It looked like us playing a pickup game with our friends and just taking out someone. He literally went in with everything. Like, I'm just going to clean you out. And he got unlucky, unfortunately. I have a question for you guys here. Right, there's been a lot of, we've talked about it in the past, which is Roger Schmidt sometimes takes longer to make substitutions. We see that so-and-so's tired, or, let's make a sub. Some games we've seen him make changes right at halftime. Some games like today, we saw him make changes in the 70th minute or so. And for me, that shows me confidence. He has confidence in the players that are on the squad. He has confidence in the decisions that he's making. There's a lot of times that you'll see managers kind of uneasy on the bench, not really exuding confidence or giving the team a message that, I trust you guys, right? You're back and forth, you're uncertain, don't know what the hell's going on. With all of that, right, he made substitutions late. The team never really lost their dynamic. We went down again. We went down at Juventus. We went down again today. We've gone down, I think, 1 or 2 more times in this season in the league. This team continues to bounce back. Like I said in the title of this podcast, personality and composure, this team does not lose their composure. They know their identity. They know what they're out there to do. And I guess, how much do you give credit to Schmidt and his coaching staff, to the Direção, like Oscar said, putting this puzzle together, right? It's not just one person. It's not just one player. Like Bill said earlier, right? PSG might have the better players, might have the higher salary. Benfica seems to have a better team. And sometimes that counts for a lot. But how much credit do you give to him in what we're seeing? And do you think that with everything that happened in the offseason, departures, arrivals, is Roger Schmidt the best signing that we made this summer? And I'll open that up the floor, whoever wants to go first.
I think Roger Smith is a big part of the puzzle. I think he is the guy that glued everything together, and I'm not sure how much influence he had on the additions to the team. But you have to give the credit, most of the credit, to Rui Costa. Rui Costa has been you could tell by the way he talks that he knows what he wants for the team, and he's putting it together really, really well. This team is playing wise. This reminds me of the team that we had with Jesus when we were felt confident when we beat Porto 2-0 in Estadio Dragão. That's a team I'm feeling when Benfica plays today. It's like the confidence is there, and Roger Schmidt is part of the puzzle. But I think Rui Costa's going to put it together.
Bill, Jay, what do you think? And those of you in the chat, let us know your thoughts.
I agree with that. I think this team from last season's team, or from the last 2 seasons, it's fucking night and day. Like, these games where we go behind in the last 2 seasons, there's no chance of us coming back and getting a result from those games. And now I think it's pretty obvious that this team has that fight in them, that, all right, we go down, but we go again, right? Like, they got theirs. Now we're going to go down and get ours and come back. And I think, Roger's a huge piece to it, because he's the one that is with the team on a daily basis. He's the one setting the tactics, right? But I think, like Oscar said, I think the ultimate credit has to go to the Direção and the direction, the plan they had, because it was clear and concise, and they did their work early and quick.
Mm-hmm. And we had a preseason with these players,
right? Like, they got these guys in early. It wasn't like making 4 or 5 signings late in the transfer window. These guys were in right away, which I think makes a huge difference to get the team set up and kind of get that team bonding going and get the players accustomed to each other. But I think, like Oscar said, I think it goes to the Direção, the way they plan this season, and whatever project they have, whatever that long-term plan is. This is phase 1, and it seems like they smashed it out of the park so far.
Yeah, Jay, before I pass it to you, Red Baron says the mental attitude in this team has changed completely day and night from the last 2 seasons. I think that's very obvious to see. Jaime says, truth is we didn't lose in 2 games versus PSG. WTF, seriously? Okay, it's 2022-23 Benfica. No news there. Let's see, what else do we got? SLBES says, can't believe that Florentino is 20 times the player that Weigl was for us. We paid 20 million for him. 2 different types of players, but I agree. Tino has definitely slotted into this formation. Maybe unlike
he fits the puzzle, and Weigl fits a different puzzle. And Weigl's not a bad player.
Correct. I agree with that, Oscar. Let's see. Red Baron says they trust the coach's ideas, the system, but the mental attitude is key. Jaime says Roger Smith, a statue right beside Eusebio now. Calma,
Really?
Jaime.
Too
Calma.
early.
We got time.
O Laje também era para estar lá, não era?
SLBS says agreed. Roger is the keystone of this team, and Rui did go all out for Roger. But I start a comment here, Jay, as I pass it to you. From Ricardo Cavada Silva, Roger soube contratar bem. Importante é que ainda não perdemos. Who do you give credit to here, Jay?
So I kind of agree with what they say, but I think I give the majority of the credit to Roger. I liked how Rui Costa, Rui Raj, they made the team.
Lourenço Coelho was a huge part. I told you guys in the offseason, him
all
coming
those
back
guys,
be a
like
huge
everyone that
came
helped,
back.
everyone that helped, and especially to get them early with the coach. But at the end of the day, the coach is the one that brings the ideas to the team. The coach is the one that picks the formation to play, picks the players to start. To start the season, none of us thought that Florentino would have started on this team. To start the season, none of us thought Gonzalo Ramos would have started this team.
Agreed.
Like there's Antonio Silva, like there's a lot of players on this team.
You didn't think Ramos would start?
We're not talking about me.
Okay, you said a lot.
I'm just saying a lot of us.
You said none of us. You said none of us thought Ramos would start. It's all right. I thought you did.
Whatever.
Carry on.
But I think it's all on the coach. I think it's his mentality. Basically, I give a lot of credit to the president, Rui Costa, for allowing him to bring his own people. So he feels comfortable. He does it his way. I think the way we're playing is his way, his ideas, the mentality. I think it's comes from the coach. I kind of agree with some of these, like Red Baron. They trust the coach's ideas. They believe in what the coach is basically telling them, and they're performing. I see it all the time. I watch sports and all different types of sports, and you always see teams that struggle, but they perform for their coach. And we knew that beginning of the season, like, oh, we got PSG. We didn't think that we were going to get 2 ties.
And we all thought they're going to be 2 losses, right?
Yeah, and just the mentality of the coach is like, no, we're going to go there and get a result. And like, I think we played for the tie today, personally, especially playing Frederick in the midfield. I think that's how we're going to get points. There's no doubt about it. I think that was the message to the locker room, and I think the players believed in it. And maybe they found some opportunities. They were like, hey, you know what? Let's get a tie, and if it's real close, let's go for the win. Like something like in that nature. Like, I think he always says, I think I heard in his press conference where he said, if I have the opportunity to take the point, I'll take the point, then lose it.
And he said that today again,
yeah.
Right? He said we wanted to win, but if you don't win, you always want to at least take 1 point, and that's what we did. And I thought it was.
I have a rebuttal for Tank.
Yeah.
So the reason I give a lot of credit to Roger, but the reason why I think Roger is part of the puzzle and not the main key is because he was part of the puzzle put together this year. He wasn't there last year creating a team for the next year. You know what I mean? Like like Mourinho goes to Roma, he goes, give me 2 years, I'll create a team to win the league, right? Or when he goes to Chelsea or he goes to Manchester United, give me 2 years, right? Because he's the one creating the team. He's the one saying, I need to hire this guy, get the contract, this guy. Roger's part of the puzzle that Rui Costa put together for this year. He believed in Roger, part of the puzzle of the players he brought in. So even though I agree, you probably as soon as whatever the guy is, Roger told he was one of the guys that he wanted to come in. Yep. But a lot of these players came because of the Direção. That's why I gave them the biggest credit.
I'm going to side with Jay here, and in some of the comments is I agree with you, Oscar, right? Like there has to be a strategy, and we talked about this in the offseason. There has to be a plan, right? Benfica has to define the plan and where we want to go as a team, and then we need to pass that strategy down, right? Because the B team needs to play like the A team does, and so on, so the adaptation becomes easier. But while you can present a plan, you need to execute that plan. Right? So credit to Rui Costa and the Direção for having that vision and having a mindset of where we wanted to go and how we wanted to play. But I think even more credit, right? Because I can give you all the ingredients to make feijoada,
Yep.
and you might not know how to make it, right?
Of course,
I can give you the
100%. But putting the puzzle together is the biggest
Correct.
thing.
We
Putting
know
it
Oscar
together,
doesn't know how to
everything's
make feijoada.
I know how to make it.
Stop. You call your mom. Hey, preciso feijoada.
Quanto piripir ponho nisto?
Yeah, so I think, and who says here? Carlos Ramalho makes a comment here. É complicado perceber que a maioria deste plantel, a época passada era miséria e agora é topo de gama. Mentalidade do treinador só pode, em consonância com a direção e adeptos no Benfica, é caminho para o sucesso. A lot of these players were on this roster last year, right? And again, it just shows that belief goes a long way. Confidence goes a long way. And I mean, he has brought an injection of fresh air to this team. His press conferences, the way he answers things, the Portuguese press always tries to kind of back him into a corner like they typically do and ask a tricky question or make things difficult. And he somehow manages to navigate through it. Again, that may end at some point, right? If we get a loss, if we get a string of bad results, whatever the case may be, right? He might act differently. But up until now, I would have to say, if I had to attribute a percentage, I would say 60% for Roger Schmidt and his team and 40% for the direção, because again, you can have all the best ingredients in the world. I mean, look at PSG, for example, right? They haven't been able to win the Champions League, and that's what they've been out to do for years since they got bought out. So you can have all the tools that you want, but you might not be able to build the house that you want, right? So I think it's an important piece there. Let's see.
I agree with that percentage, 60-40. Like the direção deserves a lot of credit too. So like that 60-40 is good range.
Agreed. Jim Miguel says Feijoada Sarah just signed in to watch after that comment. Jay, this one might be for you. I think Ramos has a long way to go as a finisher, but he has a work ethic that outshines most. If we had a better finisher, Ramos would be on the bench. Do you agree?
Well, I already told you Darwin would start over him, so I would pick Darwin to start over Ramos.
Do you guys agree with this, Oscar? Bill?
Not for this team today. Not for the team we have right now. I already mentioned why I don't agree with it. I mean, the team we have now has possession. The team that we have now plays up the field. And Darwin's a player that was used to playing like last year. That's why he was successful, is because we attack for long balls from the back. And we're not doing that this year. This year we're playing like the tiki-taka soccer, and he's not that. You could tell at Liverpool, he's not that.
Yeah, he's definitely not a tiki-taka guy.
I think if I'm not going to talk Darwin's, I think if we had a striker that was more clinical in front of net, I don't think Ramos would be on the field as much. If there was a striker, regardless of who it is, that was just more clinical in front of net, then Ramos wouldn't be starting. I think he works his tits off. I mean, a game like today, he might get the edge on a striker that's more clinical just because we're not going to have the ball as much. You're going to have to work back. And he does that. Like, he runs his face off in these games. But I think that his biggest lack is that finishing in front of net, right? When you get the one chance, can you put it away? And it was, I mean, we all harped on it when it was Seth, right? 9 chances to score 1 type of thing,
he
right?
Might come back.
Yeah, unfortunately. But when you get games like this, you're not going to get many, right? And you're going to have to take advantage of what you can get. So I think if we had a striker.
I think Seth would score a lot of goals this year. I think Seth, being a striker that he is, more in the box without coming much back or to the sides, I think he would score a lot of goals. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think he would.
Yeah.
He could, yeah. But again, like you said, it's a matter of fitting the puzzle, right? And while Seth or Enrique Araújo or Pino or Musa might have different characteristics, the reality of it is that, even though in most of our opinions, Ramos isn't a top finisher yet, he can be. He gives the team other things. He gives the team other dynamics. He gives the team press. He gives the team running. Like Bill said, he works his tits off, and then he said he works his face off. Good thing he
runs his face off.
Runs his face off. Runs his tits off. Runs his face off. Good thing he didn't continue. He would have said some other body parts. That would have been a little chaotic here.
No, he's the leading scorer in the Premier League.
No, he's
scoring, but
he's finish. That's all I could say. That was a pretty nice goal on Saturday. Woo.
SLBS says Friedrich was signed for 400,000 last year. How is that possible? When he went to Feyenoord. Red Baron says 4 to 5 players weren't there. Those additions were tremendously important. The Enzos, the Tinos, the Auschwitz, Neres, Ba. Agree. putting that puzzle together.
He plugged them in exactly what we needed. We all talked about having a defensive mid last year. Enzo's perfect. We talked about having another winger. Ned is just better than perfect. We talked about Gilberto coming through and showing up, but he came from like shit. Why is he even playing? So Ba is there now, and he's proving to why we needed a guy like Ba there. So, and obviously having more midfielders as soon as is actually really good. I really liked him today. He was very solid on the ball. So everything they brought in, he brought in players that was like not just junk to set on the bench because to own them. We brought in players that we needed.
I agree. Antonio da Silva says the coach puts them in the right positions, and so they show more of their potential. Carlos says, por que o Henrique Araújo desaparecer? O Pinho não percebo. Também o Pinho e o Henrique Araújo têm marcado golos na equipa B. But again, right, like the B team and the A team. Pinho did come in today. He was the first option off the bench.
Second.
Well, for striker.
Gilberto Carlos. Oh, okay.
For striker. But yeah, I mean, he seems to like them all, right? He's given them different opportunities. He has been questioned about Henrique Araújo in the last week and a half. He says he counts on him. Again, we talked about it earlier. I appreciate the fact that he lets him go down to the B team and get minutes and keep his confidence, keep his fitness.
They're not going to play on the A team, especially the young kids.
Exactly.
Let them go down. Let them play. It's only going to help them.
Yeah, I mean, JJ had him up last year, and then he was sitting on the bench, 95% of the time.
Yeah.
Right. He's not gonna get better. He's not gonna get confident. He's not playing. Right. Like at this stage, they need to play. Jean Miguel says Ramos is mobile, yes, but this tiki-taka style would benefit off a clinical back to the goalie striker Benfica. What the hell did you just write? Try that again.
Biggie, give Jean Miguel his computer back.
Seriously. Darwin.
I have a question for you guys when you guys are after.
Go.
Do you like? I'm not a Musa guy. Like I'm maybe one day he'll prove me wrong, but like right now I'm not really digging his style of play. I know he scored a goal over the weekend, but I'm ready to see Henrique Araújo as the backup coming in over Musa. Does anyone else feel that way or no?
Well, it's funny you say that because Carlos just says no doubts about Gonçalo. The thing is, why not Henrique? And
well, he must be showing something wrong in practice. I mean, this guy seems to be giving the guys that deserve an opportunity, and Henrique not getting it must be a reason behind the scenes that we don't know about.
And I think Musa and Henrique are two different strikers. I think Musa is I think what João Miguel is trying to get at, the back to goal type of striker where he's going to hold up play.
And Pinho is the same way,
right? And I think Henrique is more like Ramos, right? More mobile. He's going to try to get in behind type of thing. So, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, right? He wants to have Musa on the bench because it's a different type of striker. If things aren't working with Ramos and the mobile striker, then you can bring in someone that's more back to the net or someone that's going to be better in the air. But I agree. I think it's strange how – because Henrique was playing at the beginning of the season, and then it was like from one moment to another, he was playing and then not even on the bench and down at the B team.
Well, don't forget, I also think it was a matter of integration, right? Rodrigo Pinho's coming off the knee injury. Yep. He was out all last season. Petar Musa got hurt in preseason. He wasn't playing much, right? So as those two got ramped up, right, like Oscar said, something's got to be seen in training, right? He's working with them every day, right? So he's clearly seeing something different at the moment. Doesn't mean that it won't be able to change over time. But the fact that he's given the kid the chance to at least be playing on the B team is a positive. But it's a good question, but interested to see how it plays out. Jaime says, truth is we are playing like we didn't do since those first 6 months with Lage and that brilliant Felix move. And I always feel this year, even if we give a goal first, calm, we will prevail in the end. That helps a lot with my heart health. This is true. This is true. I mean, past seasons, Benfica concede, you just like, oh my God, we're going to unravel. And this team just seems to be extremely confident and cool in moments of pressure. Jaime says, Carlos Ramalho, Pinho é o nosso avançado com mais classe. What do you guys think of that?
It's not the first time I hear this, because today I was watching the game and it was Paramount. I don't know what the station is or the commentators are. And then when Pinho came in, they're like, a class, top class, and I'm like, what the fuck is this guy? Where are they seeing this? Like, I mean, they play for a team I didn't watch. Like, I thought Pino came from Marítimo.
We're probably talking about Ramos coming out.
No, he's talking about Pino coming in. And I'm like, what the hell? So I don't know. Maybe he is, and he'll prove us wrong. But I feel like I don't know, man.
I like him. I liked him at Marítimo. He scored against all the top three. Again, playing for Benfica is a different weight on the shirt. Musa did it last year for Boavista, right? Playing for Benfica is a different weight on the shirt. They've both proven that they can score goals in Portugal. Can they reproduce that at a big stage, right? That time will tell. But I agree with people when they say about Pino. I think he has the ability to be very useful to this squad. It's just a matter of if he can get healthy and if he's going to take his opportunities. That's going to be the important piece here. Miguel says he's testing them all, obviously, because he sees Ramos isn't the finisher he wants. He wants to find a finisher, but Ramos right now is all we have. I wouldn't go down that path. I don't entirely agree with that. Carlos says, escuta, bebe mais bock e traz para mim. I think he's talking to Jaime. SLVS says Musa and Pino are both over at Araújo. Something is up. I understand Musa, not Pino, says Carlos. Very different styles of play. João Miguel says having a center back like Antonio Silva who can pick out a pass from afar is amazing. Also, he moves the ball up the field very fast, and João Mario is finally turning the key up a lot recently. Pino is very good to the Portuguese League champions. I don't know. Correct. It's a completely different level. Not everyone.
But we haven't seen it in Portuguese other than Marítimo. We haven't seen
Correct.
it.
Correct.
Pino can play the Taça da Liga.
He'll play this weekend. Taça de Portugal, most likely, against Caldas. Red Baron says Pino may be the Weldon of Roger Schmidt. Oh man,
wow, that's
Weldon, dude. That's a blast from the past. Remember that guy? Jesus.
He used to play for Belenenses, right?
Yeah, bald guy, Brazilian dude. Carlos says, come on, man. Pino é de longe bem menos que o Benfica joga. O Musa ainda percebo. João Miguel says he'll be the Sporting found the cliff guy. I don't see Paul or JD.
We were talking about this last week.
Caladinhos. I want to ask you guys a question here because I've always been, and I'm sure this will have various opinions in the chat as well. So let us know your thoughts. But we always have talked about, and I've been a big defender of this in the sense of, right, people always say, like, when we play in Europe, doesn't matter who we're playing, somos o Benfica, temos que jogar para ganhar, blah, 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 right? And at the end of the day, like, somos o Benfica is a thing from the past in the sense of, like, we're not the Benfica of the 50s and the 60s, right, where we were, top dog in Europe, top 5 maybe, in Europe. Now it's a completely different game, right? It's a business. There's a lot more money in the club, in the industry. And did we see against PSG, right? People talk about Benfica Europeu, Benfica competente na Europa. Are we starting to see that? Like, do you guys start to have belief that, okay, there is money in the industry, there is money in the sport, but you know what? Like, if the puzzle pieces are all there, maybe we can compete. Maybe on a one-off game, completely different, right? If this game today was a make or break for PSG, maybe they come out the gates differently, right? There's a different mindset, etc. But are we starting to see a different mindset? And are you guys starting to believe, if you didn't already, that, there is a potential that clubs like Benfica, clubs like Porto, the clubs that don't have deep pockets, if the pieces are in place, they can truly compete? Or do you still think that it's because of the scenario? Their backs weren't against the wall. It's not a one-off game. What do you guys think about that?
I think that we are able to compete until the following season. That's
until we sell players.
Yeah, that's how it is. Like we had this happen in the 2010, 2011 seasons when we beat Tottenham and Everton 5-0, 4-3-1 or 4-1 against Tottenham, and those teams had money, right? And we showed up and we beat them because we had the puzzle put together really well. And then the next season we sell Rodrigo, we sell this, we sell that, and we're back to square zero trying to get players from Brazil to make the team again. So like this year, we have a great team, but next year we probably won't have Enzo. We probably won't have Neres again. That kind of puzzle breaks up and we have to start all over again. And that's why we can never compete for the trophy.
Okay.
I also think it has a lot to do with the manager, right? Like when you walk into a locker room and like you have a game like today, right, against a PSG, and the manager goes, all right, we're not changing our tactics, we're playing our style type of thing. Today, yeah, he changed it a little bit. But the first game against PSG, we trotted out our normal lineup, played our normal style. Like we didn't change anything to these teams, right? So I think the players like buy into that. Like, all right, he believes in it. Let's fucking go do it, right? But I agree with what Oscar said. Like, yeah, you might strike gold one season, but then the following season, you're back to the beginning peg, having to rebuild that squad because unfortunately, Benfica doesn't have the financial means to say no to 80 million for a player or 100 million for a player. Like we can't turn that down.
Yeah. And a good example is Ajax. Ajax went to the Champions League final against Tottenham, wherever it was.
Semi-final, yeah.
Semi-final, but they were dominated, right? They could have easily gone to the final. They beat some good clubs, top clubs.
And they blew it in the last 5 minutes.
Right.
Yep.
And the next year they lose everybody. Now they're losing 5-1 and so on their league.
That entire squad is gone now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that's this. We're the same scenario as Ajax. Yeah. We create a great team, and then all of a sudden we can't keep them.
Jay, do you agree?
I want to believe that one day I will see a Champions League because that's the only thing that's left for me. Well, that and the World Cup of Portugal. Like I want to believe so bad that we will be there one day. I do agree with if you got the puzzle, all the pieces to the puzzle, and the right coach, everything falls in the right place. No injuries, all that. Oscar mentioned Ajax is a perfect example. They were 5 minutes away. But it's tough. Obviously, it's very easy when you have all the money, you have the best players, you can afford to pay the players what they want. But I really want to believe that one day I will see a Champions League victory for Benfica.
We would all love the same thing, right?
I'm gonna hold on to that dream.
And it's all about the luck of the draw, right? And like I give a lot of credit to Porto winning 2004, but man, the puzzle, the paths just kept falling in their favor, right?
Well, it's like it's like Portugal when they won the Euro.
But
that path fell into place.
The Champions League. The Champions League has been a tournament that I just felt like I've seen other teams like Porto win it, and I'm like, dude, we could do it too. Like this is something that we've been watching as kids. Like me and Mikey used to skip school to go to Cumberland to watch the freaking game
with Biggie. In the Jetta.
But Tank, let me ask you a question.
I just want to see it. I want to believe that it could happen. So
let me ask you a question. You got the Enzo, right? Enzo just came from Argentina. Yeah, he's now making probably $1 million, $1.5 million a year. Yeah, possibly, right? A team comes next year and says, "Hey, I'm going to give you $5 million a year." You think he's ever going to say no? And because he doesn't have that thing to Benfica that
correct.
So to him, it's just a business. It's like a stepping stone going to the top next.
100%. And a lot of them say that.
Oscar, I'm not saying that. I completely agree.
But how do you hold it?
I'm hoping that we can develop players and it just keeps coming up through the system.
Right? No, absolutely. No, I agree. But how do you?
Because that Ajax team was so young too. Like you're talking about Deling was there.
Frankie de Jong.
There was like a lot of young players that came from their youth, and I'm like, maybe that could happen one day. Like
it could, yeah.
Gravenberg, they have
their youth is really good too.
They were able to reload with older talent as well, but I mean at this point that's ripped apart.
Who's that center back that they had that's wicked old? I think he played at Manchester United.
Dele Blind.
Yeah, Blind.
Yeah. They have a couple guys older.
I think Anthony was there. I think Neres was there, right?
Anthony's young.
I think
he was there. He was
that there. That Ajax model is like what Benfica has to aspire.
And they come back. It's like a cycle. Like every 3-4 years, they're competitive again. And then
you get the youth coming through, and you mix in experienced players, right? And you make your run, and then freaking your team gets ripped apart. And then you got to do it again. And then a few years later, then you make the run again. I think that's unfortunately because we can't hold, like you guys have been saying, we can't hold on to someone. If a city's coming and saying, hey, we'll give you 80 mil for Enzo.
Yeah.
Like,
And offering him
fucking
5
say no.
million.
Like,
Yeah.
right? Like, there's no way we can be like, no, we're not going to take the 80.
The way that
no,
they're
thank you.
talking about
Right.
Enzo, he might be gone in January. Never mind the end of summer.
No, I don't think
That
they'll let
would
him go in
suck. No,
January.
I'm not saying it would suck, but you never know.
Depends on the World Cup.
You never you can see, I can
potential,
see a team that needs a midfielder and they just pony up. Boom, tome. See you later.
No, I don't think they'll let it go in January. I think they want to win the league. They definitely
guess
want to
so.
win the league. So maybe they'll have a deal like, hey, we'll cut you a deal, sell them, but we'll finish the season here.
Yeah. Do you guys, Vitor Silva also shout out to Haller as
Haller,
well?
yeah.
Who went to
He was.
Dortmund.
Ask Sporting how they feel about him.
Yeah.
Bad memories.
Yeah.
Enjoy Enzo this year. Next year,
100%.
bye-bye, says Jean Pardal.
Fact.
João Miguel says Ned was on that Ajax squad too.
He was, but
Correct.
Anthony came in the year after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nederland went to Shakhtar. Red Baron says there's no way a team in Portugal can keep players that are worth 50 to 60 million. That's how they rebuild. That's how they survive. And again, it's that financial stability. And I guess I'll pose this question here, which is a bit more broad. And for those of you tuning in as well, let us know your thoughts. Is, do you think, because of this comment, right, where Red Baron says, and what we've talked about, teams in Portugal can't say no to transfers of this value, right? Like, it's just hard. Do you guys think that PSG or the owners of PSG taking a stake in Braga with a 21% of their SAV, an injection of cash for 80 million, do you think that will then start, a snowball effect of more money having to come into the Portuguese league? Do you think clubs like Benfica, Sporting Porto will now really up the ante to go and find an investor that's going to, meet that need and give us that extra leg up that we need, and then give us the ability to hold on to these types of players? Or do you think it'll remain?
I do. I 100% agree, and I think Braga is a model that will basically test the waters. Say these guys now,
they're the guinea pig.
The guinea pig, basically. If it works and it screws with Braga, Benfica and Porto Sporting, like, fuck you guys are fucked. Now, if it works and they be able to get players like they would never ever thought to be getting before, and Braga wins the league, then Benfica's like, fuck, maybe let's call Dexter again, or Dexter, whatever the fuck his name is, and see if he wants to invest.
Well, you want Crystal Palace players?
No, but just to get some money into the club. I'm afraid of that. I'm really, really afraid of that. I don't want an owner to come in and basically come take over a team in Portugal, because it becomes a monopoly, and then it just doesn't. I don't like it. But even though right now in Portugal is the 3 top teams, and that's it almost. But still, I'd rather have fans be in control of the teams.
Yeah,
I don't think it's good. I don't think it's going to change like the way Portuguese footy is, right? I don't think it's going to be like them coming in and turning Braga into a PSG. You know how many teams the city owners
could
have?
They though? Like, I'm going to stop you there, but why couldn't they? Braga's got a huge fan base.
But I think they look at it like, I'm going to go with the city example, right? The city owners have like 10 teams under their umbrella, right? They have a team. They have the team in MLS, New York City FC. They have a team in like Australia
last year.
Melbourne
City
MLS
FC. They won the title.
Where's the team in Spain? Girona. They're fucking shit.
They just came up to the first division.
Yeah, but I don't think it's. I don't.
You're not helping your case.
Yeah, but Girona is one of those teams that goes up and down every fucking every other season. They go up and come back down.
I think Girona is a different example, right? Like Girona is miles off of the Valencias or the Atletis or Reals or Barcelona, right? But like Braga has competed for the title when JJ was there.
I don't see it being one of these type of investments where they're going to be. I think they'll be able to hold on to talent a little longer, right? So instead of selling, who's there? Was it Vitinha?
Yeah.
Instead of selling him for say 15, right? Like they can't typically, like we bought Rafa for 15 or 16, right? They wouldn't be able to say no. Now they might be able to say no and hold on to him for one more season.
Well, I mean, they're already doing that without it.
Horta.
Yeah, but I think that's because it was Benfica. I think if there was any other team offering what Benfica offered, he's gone.
I think
if Porto knocked on the door and probably offered less than what Benfica offered, he would have been gone. I think it was I think the owner, the president, I can't remember his fucking name, was playing
Antonio.
hardball because
Salvador.
it was Benfica. I think if there's any other team, Horta's gone. He's not on the team anymore.
I don't think he would be because I think Carmu's deal basically met Braga's financial needs for the season. So Braga wasn't hard-pressed to do it. Whereas now, if they have that financial backing, they're even less pressed to go. Jay?
No, I was saying bye to JB Pardo. He's leaving.
Oh, Jaime Pardal says, night, guys. 2:10 in Portugal. Tomorrow's workday. Nice chat with you.
Noite.
Obrigado, Jaime. Abraço. Boa noite. Bom descanso.
As far as my opinion with this, I think this is huge for Braga.
And the Portuguese league.
And scary for the big team.
And to be honest, if what Red Baron is true, they're gonna own 35%.
Yeah.
Eventually. I think, and like Mike, you've been saying it, Braga's in 4th place all the time. You can see Braga winning it.
That's what I'm saying. I think they're close enough.
Put it this way, I can see if they invest into Braga, if this is actually true and they invest some players into Braga, I can see Braga winning the championship in 4 to 5 years.
And the reason I said this in our other group chat is I don't think that Braga will win the title in the next 3, 4, 5 years. And the reason I say that is because, like Oscar said, I think this is going to be the guinea pig essentially, right? Whereas like, is this going to be a successful story, or is it going to be like an Anzi Makachkachkala from Russia where they injected so much cash and they sucked and got relegated, right? And the owners were like, peace out, we're not doing this anymore. But I think that if Benfica Porto Sporting are seeing that it's, starting to gain some traction, they're starting to close that gap. I think that those 3 teams have enough power and have enough interest in the football world to go out and then say, hold on a second, we're not going to let these guys close the gap on us. Let's go and find an investor and, let's increase that gap again, right? We don't want to let that short. So that's the reason why I don't think that they will close the gap that quickly. But I do think that it could, if it works well, it could really give the Portuguese league a massive cash injection. The problem is that already the top 4, and you could say 5 with Guimarães, but they're so hot and cold every season. Does that then create a even bigger gap between the top 4 and everyone else, right? Because not many teams are going to want to invest in it. I know Chelsea's owners looking at Portimonense, which is bad news for Porto because they're not going to be their B team anymore, and they're not going to be able to make deals, backdoor deals every summer. But we're like, how many other investors are going to want to invest in a Marítimo? How many investors are going to want to invest in a Santa Clara or an Arouca or something? Right? Like, does it create a bigger gap between those top 4 and everyone else? Like, do we become a farmers league after that, like everyone likes to say? It's a tough spot.
I think we're already.
I think it's a potential. Like, in Spain, it's essentially that way, right? The top 2 have such a big gap in their.
Not so big, like Atleti normally.
Yeah, but Atleti is so it's Real and Barca, and then Atleti is a step below that, and then from there down, like there's a decent gap, and then those 4, the Valencias and Sevilla. Well, Sevilla's this year's on a struggle bus, but typically like Valencia and Sevilla are the next tier, and then there's like just a huge gap between the rest. In Portugal, we already have it, right? Like Benfica, Porto, Sporting every 20 years, and then there's the next tier of teams, and then there's a huge gap after the Bragas and the Guimarães, right?
Rui Pinho says, do you really think these guys are going to inject money into Braga to win titles, or using Braga to develop youth to move them to their club, PSG, etc.?
Or to launder money?
Conspiracy theory.
Well,
they own a country. They don't need to launder money.
Yeah.
Those guys they got a machine that
makes
it.
They got to pay taxes in those other countries.
Are there taxes in Qatar? They own the country. They don't have to pay shit.
Yeah, but they have to pay tax. They own PSG. They have to pay taxes in France.
Yeah, you think that bothers them? They have to pay the fine for
financial. I'm not saying. I don't know.
They're like, how much do you need? 25 million. Okay, espera aí, deixa-me contar aqui as minhas notas. Pega lá. Here's an extra 5 million just for the troubles.
I rounded
These
up.
These guys don't care. Then again, Braga, even if they don't win the title, they get they're hoping
Yeah.
for that 500,000 from Porto.
We
Like,
need to
yeah.
develop our league overall. Like I think they do a poor job in marketing our league in general.
But the product's not good either.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the problem.
Yeah, so like I feel
Like
like
the
they need to
EPL has
inject
all those
money
TV
into the
deals
league
for a reason.
or
Like,
find
Well,
an
we're not-
investor to do that.
Yeah,
just,
we're never
just
gonna
you guys,
get it.
you guys remember PSG used to be like a 5th, 6th ranked team in
Yeah,
in
but
France.
PSG always had a name in European football. If
Did
you
they,
look
though?
back, they did. Look at some of the players that
Not
they
when
had that were
Paulita was
top-class
there.
fans.
Paulito
Now
was
when
there, we used to
Paulito
smoke
was
that
there.
team. I still remember Petit scoring a nice Chappelle on those motherfuckers.
But PSG was always they weren't a Champions League winner. They weren't among
Lyon
the elite, but
used to
PSG was
own that league. Lyon
correct.
used
They
to
won
own
it
that
for like
league.
9-10 years in a
Yeah,
row
10
when
years in a
Junior
row.
Pernambucano was there. But PSG's always been a name that's been in the European collection of names in terms of clubs that are renowned, whether they were winning titles or not, right? But when you go back and look at the players, some players that were world class that went through PSG, I mean, they have a decent amount of players that went through there. But again,
Right,
money.
but look, the money coming in. What made of PSG? PSG is now number one, other than like probably a season or two in 20 that
I mean,
they might.
Man
have
City is
played.
the same scenario.
Right,
right?
but Man City has teams around them that actually have money too, like the Chelsea's.
Correct, but it
Chelsea's
hasn't helped them. I mean, Pep's won the league 4 out of 5 seasons, so it hasn't really done too much. I mean, it's obviously more competitive, but it hasn't really helped them too much. Carlos says, I really think that Braga will win a championship in the next 8 to 10 years, not less. They might win a title sooner than Sporting wins another one. That's a possibility.
Hot take.
That's a possibility. Joey says, "Well, that's about Joey." He says, "Invest in Shavs, bro."
Man, I would love
that. That'd be nice.
Can they invest in Shaws before they play Porto?
Having Oliveira monopolize our TV rates for the last 15-20 years has stunned our league's growth. Yeah, I mean, Oliveira, the sports, Sport TV, they basically control everything. That's why the product isn't always so great, because they define the times when the games are 9:30 kickoffs, Clásicos on a Friday. It's a nightmare. Red Baron says Braga's perfect because they already have a solid youth system and a big infrastructure. Carlos Armayo says, what the fuck is Sporting?
I don't say.
Hey, we've beaten Sporting and Braga this year. Viva Shabs. It's true. To close this off here, how confident are we that we can top this group? We're even on points. We tied 1-1 home and away. And I looked before we came online, and it appears that the next tiebreaker between the top two teams, if it's Benfica and PSG, will be goal differential. And right now we are both on +3. Benfica,
yeah, but don't they have more goals scored? Isn't that the tiebreaker right now? That's why I keep there in first.
Do they though?
They have 7 scored and we have 6, and we have 3 suffered and we have 4.
Let me see if I can bring up that page
So
again.
that's the only reason why they're in first place right now.
So goal differential, goals scored,
Yeah,
and away goals scored. So goals scored would be second.
yeah.
And
that's why they're in first.
So that's why they're
Okay.
in first and we're second.
They have 7. We have 6, I think.
Yeah, we have
Okay.
6. So all depends on next games. I mean, we have, I think, a favorable schedule. We play Juventus at home and then Maccabi away. But Maccabi this show proved that they're not a joke away. So it's not a game that it's already guaranteed won. So we have to be careful. I think.
No, that's a game that we're gonna win.
And
We're
then,
not gonna go
and then
there.
now the good thing
No.
is PSG has to beat Juve.
No, we're
In
not
order to
Juventus.
get-
We
in
beat
order-
Juventus.
I know, but PSG will have to beat Juve in order to make sure they get first place. So I don't know. It's gonna be.
I prefer first place, but getting out of the group, I'll be very, very, very happy.
Let's look at, so if we were to get first place, we would get second place teams, right? So right now, second place teams are Liverpool, Porto, Inter.
We can't get Porto.
We can.
We can't.
After the group stage, you can.
No, you can't.
No, not that first
you
round.
can't.
I don't think, unless they changed it.
No, you
That
can't
first
get.
round.
You
That
can't
first
get.
round of knockouts.
All
you
right,
can't
guys,
get.
let them finish the second place teams.
So Liverpool, Inter, Tottenham, Salzburg, Leipzig, Dortmund are the second place teams right
All
now.
right. What's first place?
First place are Napoli is clear by 3 points. Club Brugge is clear by 6 points. Bayern Munich is clear by 3 points. Sporting is clear by 2 points. Chelsea is clear by 1 point. Real Madrid is up by 4, and Manchester City is up by 3.
You know, even though I don't want it, but I'm just talking out of my ass. I'd love to see
Don't say it. Don't say it.
the rematch against the fucking liver shit.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Bayern Munich.
No, the liver shit last year. I mean, I went to that game, man. That game should have been won.
It's true. This is true. Jay, how you feeling? You feeling confident that we can top this group? We got Juve at home. We can qualify with a draw at least, and we can lock it in. And then we got Maccabi Haifa away. Depending on how
confidence is so high right now. I think we win the next 2.
Okay, dude, I like this. I like this confidence, buddy. So you think we take first place in this group?
Yeah, I think we do. Okay. I think we score more goals than the Frenchies.
All right. Bill, what about you? You're on mute, by the way.
I think we win the next 2 games. I think we beat Juve and we beat Maccabi, but I think that the goal differential is what it's going to come down to. And does PSG play Maccabi at home or away?
Away.
PSG plays home.
Home.
Beat
Home.
Maccabi away.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean that
Juve away and Maccabi at home.
Yeah, I think that could potentially put PSG over the edge.
But Messi is most likely out.
Hot take.
Here we go.
Juve beats PSG.
It'll be in Italy too. It'll be in Italy.
Juve beats PSG.
I don't know. I mean I think Allegri gets fired after we beat them, so they'll have a new manager and maybe motivate
tonight. Like, I'm surprised.
They already said he's not.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, so
I'm surprised he still has a job.
Don't forget PSG maybe without Messi another week or so.
Yeah.
Neymar, he got hurt throwing himself on the ground. So
didn't Verratti get a yellow that he's out for next game too?
Verratti's out next game.
Yeah, he's out next game.
But they play Maccabi at home, so they might
at home. That's the thing. Like at home is you'd expect they can.
Hey, I hope they sit all their players and they only win 1-0. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be good too. As long as they don't score too many goals.
1-0.
Yeah.
How do we do against Maccabi at home? I forget.
2-0.
We won 2-0,
yeah. Red Baron says Indy Maria got hurt today. He did, and he came off crying. So I don't know if it's significant or not.
That's not good.
World Cup.
I think it was like a hamstring something.
But this Juve team looks in shambles. So we have him there for the taking next week or in 2 weeks. That covers it all. We didn't get a chance to talk about Rio Ave, but again, I don't think there was much to talk about, and there was a lot of good comments and questions in the chat.
2 golazos.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it.
You see that second goal? Que class.
Carlos says, my England club, it's the disgrace of Arsenal because it was the first European game saw. It was in the Cup Winners' Cup in 92 or 93. Yes, Carlos, I am an Arsenal fan as well. It's been many years of frustration, but this year it feels a little bit different.
This year's good for you guys.
We're a little bit high spirits. We'll see how we do, but I feel your pain. It's been misery.
I don't have a team in England, but better than the bottom 2 over here. Man United and Chelsea fans.
Chelsea.
You know what it feels like? Every time I see Arsenal first place, reminds me of when Braga is in leading the Campeonato because they're gonna choke at some point.
But I'm used to it already. So my expectations aren't up here, right? My expectation is like, all right, cool. We're in first place. We're gonna end up in 5th, right? Whereas a lot of people are unrealistic.
No,
says it's a disgrace.
I think Arsenal has something cooking over there. They're playing really well together.
We'll see. It's a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
I'm not trying to jinx you,
it's called they let go of your boy.
Who?
That's the Tavares. They let go of
No, I was reading a few articles on Tavares today.
Hey, he's not bad for Marseille. Tomorrow's gonna smoke.
He's playing pretty good at Marseille.
He's gonna give it to Sporting tomorrow.
Dude, he was nutmegging them the other day when they played in the Champions League.
Yeah,
they play again tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
There was an article today that said he was disappointed with Ruben Amorim, and he said something
I guess
to him last game.
Some kind of name. I wonder if it's racist.
You think? He said he was disappointed. He lost respect for him.
Yeah. I think they were drawn back and forth.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Carlos, obrigado nós por participares aqui nesta nossa conversa e
Obrigado, Carlos.
seguires este nosso projeto. Uma boa noite para ti. Everyone that was in the chat, we had a ton of questions, a ton of comments. We really appreciate it. Again, don't forget to check us out on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. We're trying to get to 28,000 on Facebook. Hopefully we hit 600 on Instagram today, but or hopefully we got a little bit closer during this live. We're at 457 on YouTube, trying to get to 500 is our next milestone. And we broke 1,500 on Twitter. So 30,000 plus strong. We appreciate everyone's support. We will be back again next week with the English podcast. We have the Taça de Portugal this weekend against Caldas. Tomorrow, we will be back with the Portuguese podcast. We've had some scheduling issues. Luis was away having a baby. But we will be back tomorrow, whether it's Luis or whether it's me. We will be here with the Portuguese podcast. So check that out. Gentlemen, as always, a pleasure. Another smile, another victorious weekend, and a draw that felt like a win for us. We still have not tasted a defeat. Hopefully, we can drag it on a little bit longer. We'll be back next week. Have a good evening, everyone. E viva Benfica.
Viva Benfica.
Viva.